You're watching the Batter Fans Network.
Chris, the Batter fans are back. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 41 of the Batter MLS Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, as always, Mr. KBD. How are you doing, sir?
We got a lot of really cool games coming up, Danny. And there's been a lot of
Match
American stuff happening lately.
Match Day 5 coming up. We're going to give a preview and predictions. We're going to run through them. But before we do, I think we should touch on the standings real quick. Chris, the standings in the Eastern Conference. Any surprises for you? Obviously, Philadelphia, I think, would be the biggest.
Well, Philadelphia, I expected them to be in the top 4, top 5, not number 2. The biggest surprise to me, actually, is Chicago at number 6. I didn't expect them to be so high, but here we are.
Early in the season, Chicago's up there. I think, to me, one of the biggest surprises, Atlanta, their attack hasn't looked great, and New England, of course, they haven't scored yet. Their leading goal scorer is a defensive midfielder, so that definitely, to me, is the biggest surprise. And on the West Coast, Vancouver, undefeated, 12 points in 4 games, probably the biggest surprise in the league. What are you thinking about the West Coast, Chris, before we get into the predictions?
So I'll tell you, San Diego surprises me because of how awful their offseason was in the beginning. So that does surprise me. Aside from that, obviously San Jose sitting at 6th when they were just one of the lower teams, if not the lowest team in the West. So those two are pretty surprising to me. I wasn't surprised about Vancouver. I knew Vancouver was a good.
Nah, you didn't think they were going to start off this high.
No, I didn't think they'd be number 1, but I think they'd be top 5 for sure.
And shout out to Amanda. I can't believe you're on while Colombia is playing. I don't record on the weekend, so if I didn't do this now, this wouldn't get done. So that is why we're here, and we are just going to go straight to it. Shout out to Edgar joining us. Edgar from News Across the Galaxy. We're going to have you on soon because you haven't been on here in a while. But let's get into it. Probably one of the biggest games of the weekend, Match Day 5, Cincinnati against Atlanta. Now, obviously, before we get into these games, there's a reason why our guy Tommy 2-time, was saying that this shouldn't be played because this is an international break. So there are a lot of players being called up for international duty. So I feel like before we give our predictions, we should bring up the fact that a lot of these guys are on international duty. So let me bring up real quick.
Well, yeah, and I imagine it's going to affect Atlanta hugely. I mean, affect maybe Cincinnati a little bit, but for the most part, I imagine it's going to affect Atlanta.
So Abram, Almiron, Brennan, Cobb, Fortune, Gregerson, Morales, and Slish are the players that are out for Atlanta. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players are out for Atlanta. Lat is still available. Saba is still available, but they are missing a big chunk of players. And then as far as Cincinnati goes, Cincinnati only has 2 players that are off in international duty, which the biggest being Denke and then Chirilla, the forward for Romania. So with that being said, how are you feeling about Cincinnati, Atlanta in Cincinnati?
Well, and that's at Cincinnati. I mean, I was looking at the over-unders and how the numbers are looking for the betting, and right now Atlanta's a plus 300. So I'm kind of thinking about taking that action right there, taking them as the underdog here, even though they're missing a lot of players. But
that's probably why you are the underdogs.
Yeah, but they still got Latte Lot. Like he's a threat. So I'm gonna go
there.
Yeah, Almiron isn't there. I'm gonna go with Atlanta.
Okay. I feel like this game, if Cincinnati doesn't win this game, I think there are some huge question marks about Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Because they are at home. Atlanta is obviously missing a lot of players. Almiron probably being the biggest as far as their attack goes. Gregerson on the defense. I feel like Cincinnati should win this game. And Evander has been on it. Last week, he almost had a goal that hit off the post, right? Post of the day.
Yes.
I think Cincinnati should win this. I'm going to pick Cincinnati to win this. I'm going to pick Cincinnati 2-1, and I think Cincinnati should take it. And we should really keep count of these, Chris, because last week we didn't keep count of them.
No,
so, okay,
I'm sorry.
You're going Atlanta. I'm going Cincinnati.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's game one, and Tommy's saying since Atlanta has legit only one center back, so we'll see how that goes. I think Cincinnati should take this. And again, if Cincinnati doesn't win this game, big question marks for Cincinnati this season because they were expected to do much better than they've looked so far. They were blaming Champions Cup. They can't blame that anymore. So we'll see. All right, moving on to Edgar's LA Galaxy and Minnesota United. And let me pull up international duty again. I'm sorry, I forgot so the Galaxy only have Harbor Miller and Ruben Ramos, and Minnesota are missing 5 players. They have Boxel, which is their best defender, Carlos Harvey, Robin Lod, Aluwase, which was on Team of the Week last week and had the brace for Minnesota last week, and St. Clair, which is their starting keeper for Canada. So Minnesota is going into this game depleted, but Galaxy are just depleted overall, basically so far to start the season. And this game is being played in Minnesota. How are you feeling about Minnesota Galaxy?
I think that's a pretty easy take going with Minnesota over LA Galaxy. I mean, Minnesota scored 3 goals last week. They've been hitting it pretty well. LA Galaxy, as far as I've seen, they're kind of lost in the sauce. Look, Edgar's even saying it right there. Galaxy is going to lose.
Gabriel Peck has been a one-man wrecking crew, and he hasn't even wrecked anything, but he's the one that's been creating the most chances.
Yes.
Yeah, he's trying. Mitch is predicting a draw. I'm also going to predict a win for Minnesota. Yeboah is still playing. I'm sure that the fact that they're missing Boxall and St. Clair is going to give the Galaxy an opportunity. But for the most part, Minnesota's not going to change the way they play. They are in a possession-based team. They kind of play the counter, and they're going to keep playing that way, which is going to make it very difficult for the Galaxy to score because they're having a hard time scoring as it is. If you're playing against a team that bunkers down, it's going to be even harder, no matter if you're missing your best defender and keeper. So I think Minnesota should win this. I mean, Mitch said a draw. I could see a draw also, but I'm going to go Minnesota wins this at home. So I'm going to go Minnesota.
I could see that too.
And then Edgar said Minnesota has only ever lost to the Galaxy 3 times ever.
But then he added at the end that Galaxy that they basically hold on, because he said at first Minnesota has only ever lost to Galaxy 3 times ever. It's going to be 4 after this week, and I think he meant it the other way around.
Yeah, he's only beaten them 4 times ever.
Yeah.
All right. So that was Minnesota, LA Galaxy. Now moving on, probably one of the better games of the week. Charlotte hosting San Jose.
Yeah.
Now San Jose, everybody's hyped about Bruce Arena, the attack, Chicho Arango, Joseph Martinez. Oh, that's right. I got to pull up the international duty. Jesus.
Well, this game right here, while you pull that up, San Jose away in Charlotte. Listen, Charlotte's still a very good team defensively, unless they're missing a lot of key defenders.
I'm from what I'm seeing here, San Jose is missing Joseph Martinez. That's the extent of it. Ooh. And Charlotte is going to be missing Tim Ream, the starting left back. Ajimang, right? He played today for the U.S. They're starting 4. He subbed in late in the game. And Leal Albada, which is their right wing.
Plus 350 to bet. I'm taking San Jose easy.
Okay. I'm going to call a draw on this one. Zaha is still going to be playing. You still have Pep Biel. And you still have basically the defense, right? Tim Ream might not be playing, but they still have Kalina. I think they still have one of the better defenses in the league. I'm going to call for a draw. A low-scoring draw, maybe 1-1. I think this game ends in a draw.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, it's possible because Charlotte is a very. I mean, Mitch, you've picked 3 draws.
Oh, and he was probably going to be right.
I look, he might be. If you predict 3 draws, Mitch, You need to bet that. Put $1 on those. You're gonna win some money.
Yeah, well, I think this might be one of the better matchups of the weekend, and I think it ends in a draw. What's going on, Dennis?
Dennis.
Columbus, NYCFC in Columbus. Let me pull up the international players. So for Columbus, they're missing Max Arfson, which is a big loss to the U.S. Mo Farsi, Patrick Schulte. So they're missing Patrick Schulte, Farsi, and Arfson, all to the U.S. And Algeria for Farsi. Those are big losses, especially in the attack with Arfson and then Schulte as the goalkeeper. And then NYCFC, they have Andrew Barrera, Alonso Martinez for Costa Rica, which is their stud.
That's huge.
Thomas Romero, goalkeeper, but he's the backup, and Zidane Yanes for Chile, U18. I don't think he plays much anyway. So Alonso Martinez is going to be the big loss there.
Mitch is saying all these teams are thin during the break. Columbus backline is in shambles.
They haven't looked good.
So Soccer Daddy's predicting an NYCFC win.
I
see this as a draw.
That way. Okay. You see this as a draw?
Yes, I see this as a draw.
I think that NYCFC might pull this out even without Alonso Martinez.
Well, you should put some money on it because they're the dogs.
Yeah. They still have Wolf. They still have I'm blanking on the right wing's name. Is it Jesus Ferreira? I'm blanking on his name, but I think NYCFC wins a low-scoring game. Even if it's not in Yankee Stadium, I still think they pull this win off. But I'm going to go NYCFC, low-scoring win over Columbus. And you're saying draw.
I'm saying draw, and you're saying NYCFC takes the dub on this one.
I got to get on the Hard Rock app and just put all these in.
Yeah, I mean, you should. I think so. Put $1. As far as the right winger that you're talking about, I think you're talking about Fernandez.
Julian Fernandez. I said Jesus Ferreira. I'm thinking Seattle. All right, thank you. So him and Wolf have been linking up the last 2 weeks, and even though Alonso Martinez isn't there, I think that they'll be all right. I think they win the rest of the game. Columbus 2-1.
Columbus 2-1. Okay.
Max Arfson is going to be a big miss for them. It's going to land on Diego Rossi's shoulders again, and then Russell Rowe, I guess. He's been playing better than expected. All right, Red Bulls and Toronto in New Jersey. How are you feeling about this game? I don't believe in Toronto.
I don't want to touch this game with a 10-foot pole, to be perfectly honest. Toronto are awful. Toronto is awful. I don't see them winning in any way, shape, or form. And on top of that, they're playing at New Jersey. So I'm going to go with the New Jersey Red Bulls.
Coronel is out. Their starting keeper. Yeah,
Mitch
their
says
starting
Rebels
keeper's out.
4-0.
Gengar is out, which is the forward that scored for them last week. Ofori, the defender, is out. Let's see who else. Omar Valencia, defender from Panama. Red Bulls out also. So the Red Bulls might be a little thin on the defensive side. Toronto, on the other hand, only has Davy Flores, Jonathan Osorio, which is big in their midfield, and Tyrese Spicer, which hasn't played much for them anyway. I think Toronto's one of the worst teams. They'll eventually come up on a win here or there. I don't see it happening this weekend. I'm going to stick with the Red Bulls like you. I don't know if I'm going 4-0 like Mitch, but I do think that the Red Bulls pull this one off.
Well, while you go ahead and look up the next game, I'll bring up the next image here. We got Orlando playing at home versus DC United. And that is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's a Saturday game.
These are all Saturdays. There's only one Sunday game this week.
Yeah, there's only one Sunday. That's right.
Which is the last game that we're going to talk about, huh?
Now, Orlando, I do think that they're swinging in the right direction.
Galesi's going to be out.
Yeah, Galese for sure is going to be gone.
And Bricalo, the defender, I don't know if he plays or not. I have no idea.
So tell me, is Benteke going to be playing or not?
Yes, he will.
Oof. Because if Benteke plays, like any one of the wingers just punts it somewhere near the area, that's like automatic goal. because you're shooting at the backup goalkeeper.
Well,
So
I know that DC hasn't looked great this year. They should have won week 1, but they haven't lost yet.
yeah,
And I don't think they're going to lose this weekend. I think that they pull off an upset. I think DC wins this game.
yeah. Well, they are plus 300.
Yeah,
So
they're big.
DC
They're
wins
dogs.
it. Yes, they are dogs right now, and they're plus 300 dogs. So I'm going to take that action.
Omar thinks it's going to end in a draw. I think that DC, like I said, they should have won week 1, and if they would have won week 1 like they should have, right now they'd be 2-2, and people would be taking them a little more seriously. But right now they have 1 win, 3 draws, so people are kind of overlooking them. I'm not saying that they're world beaters, but I think that they're better than the people expect, and I think that they'll pull off an upset here, and people might start taking them a little more seriously. And I think we'll be talking them about them a little more seriously next week. So I'm going to go DC over Orlando.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with DC over Orlando. I'll bring up the next game. We got Philly playing at home against St. Louis City. Now, St. Louis.
So, are you ready for Philly's international duty?
Oh, they're gonna be missing a ton of people, I imagine.
Yeah, 7 players out.
Oof.
Ty Baribo, the leader in the Golden Boot.
Yes.
Andre Blake, their leading keeper. Their starting keeper. Jesus Bueno, Daniel Gazdag, John Jacques. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I know he's been tearing it up in the midfield. He's been tearing it up in the midfield so far this season. Frankie Westfield and Neil Pierre. So Philly's going in there, and they are going undermanned against a St. Louis team that only has 1 player on international duty, and he's a U18 player for USA. He's not a starter. So St. Louis is going to be basically full squad, and Philadelphia is going in there undermanned. And this could have been the game of the week if not for the fact that Philly is undermanned. St. Louis has 4 clean sheets. Nobody scored on St. Louis yet, and Philadelphia so far this season has the most potent offense in the league. So this would have been like a really good matchup. Unfortunately, because of all the international games, it kind of ruined it. But I am curious, what are your thoughts on the Philly-St. Louis game? Do you think St. Louis finally gives up a goal?
I think that St. Louis is still going to hold it at 0, and I think that they're going to win.
Okay.
Because if there's any week,
Philly. Woo!
Wow.
Without Baribo and Gazdag and Double J back in the midfield. Okay.
That's a ballsy call.
We had an episode yesterday where we had a couple podcasts on from the hot teams, right? And we had Todd the God from Philly on. And we were talking about the fact that they're playing against St. Louis this weekend, undermanned. They just lost this past weekend against Nashville. That could possibly be 2 losses in a row after such a hot start. And then their next opponent would be Inter Miami. They could go from 3-0 to 3 losses, 3 wins in a snap of a finger. And all of a sudden people are like, ooh, maybe Philly isn't that serious, which I still think that their attack is dangerous. But I don't know. St. Louis, man, they're going to literally just put 20 people in the box. Yes. And just say, good luck, just shoot from the outside. And when you're shooting from the outside, I know Berkey's injured right now, but they still have Big Ben in the back, which when USL Goalkeeper of the Year a couple years ago, I think they'll be fine. They literally play a 5-4-1.
Yeah,
5-4-1.
Like it's lock down.
just lock it down.
Yeah,
5-4-1. So I think St. Louis. I'm with you, Chris. Without Baribo and Gazdag. I know that they still have Quinn Sullivan, and they still have I'm blanking here. Uwe. I always have a hard time pronouncing his name. Uwe. They still have some players. I think that it's going to be very tough for anybody to score on St. Louis, and missing any part of their team is going to make it even harder. So I'm going to go draw. I'm going to go boring ass draw.
0-0 draw?
Yeah. I'm going to go 0-0 draw.
Yuck. Yeah, I'm going with this. I'm going with the St. Louis win on this one.
Okay.
All right, I'm bringing up the next one here. Sporting KC plays at home versus the other team in Los Angeles, Or should we say, well, no, they're not Carson. Yeah, in Los Angeles, LAFC. Now, they end up playing at 8:30 p.m. on Saturday. Sporting KC also was able to score 3 goals last week, tied it up against Minnesota, so that way they can at least escape with a point. And then LAFC, they haven't been at their best shape themselves. So as far as this game is concerned, who are some of the players that are going to be missing?
So they're both missing 2 players for international duty. Sporting KC, Zoran Basong, and then Ian James. And then LAFC is missing Nathan Ordaz and Denny Boanga. So obviously the biggest name there is Denny Boanga. He has been the LAFC's attack basically this season.
Yeah.
I have a hard time picking Sporting KC to win anything because I think they're so bad.
Yes.
But they're riding in the high of those last 20 minutes of last week, even though one of those goals was an own goal and it was in the snow with the orange ball. I think Sporting KC kind of surprises everybody, wins at home, and kind of sends LAFC kind of just
spiraling.
They're going to spiral because that's going to be a tough loss for LAFC. But I'm going to choose Sporting KC to win a game. I saw somebody put 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1.
So Olivier Giroud is still playing.
Yeah. I know. Bobby says he's still going to start.
So I'm going to go with Sporting.
Giroud has to be by far the worst DP side. He literally doesn't start any games. Probably
brought in as like this secret weapon kind of deal. I'm going with Sporting KC.
Really? You're going to go Sporting? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sporting KC. I'm not going to take LAFC. There's no way.
All right. Moving on. We got Nashville, Montreal. Montreal, I think, is one of the worst teams in the league. Nashville finally got their first win last week against that wasn't their first one, but it was the biggest win against Philadelphia. Yes. Who are they missing? They're missing 3 players. Schaffelberg, a.k.a. the Canadian Messi, Andy Najar, and Corcoran. I don't know who Matthew Corcoran is.
Okay, so Honey Mustard is still there.
Yes. So that's who's going on international duty.
And Montreal is probably not missing anybody.
They're missing one person, Joel Waterman, defender for Canada. So they're pretty good as far as their teams go. Schaffelberg is missing. Nashville, Montreal in Nashville.
I think that this is the kind of opponent that Nashville needs to maintain this high that they're on. Like this, Giroud is like Coco Jean. Absolutely, Mike V. This is the opponent that they need to maintain this high, Danny. I'm going to go with Nashville.
People in the chat are picking Montreal to beat Nashville.
Wow. Bryce Duke.
No, I'm going to stick with you, Chris. I'm going to go Nashville. I think Nashville wins it. I think that, like I said, much like I said about Toronto, I guess I'm hating on Canada right now. Much like I said about Toronto and Montreal, I don't know if I'll ever pick them to win. I know they eventually have to win, right? But I can't imagine them winning. I'm going to go Nashville. Nashville looked pretty good against Philadelphia with the long ball.
I'll tell you right now, if you want to bring up the next game, but I just want to go over Nashville real quick. They play Cincinnati the following week. That's a pretty stiff opponent.
Well, let me tell you something.
They play Charlotte, and then
Nashville beats, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, after that they got RSL. So like they have a pretty strong string of games after Montreal.
If Nashville beats Montreal and Cincy loses to Atlanta, was it?
Yes.
That's going to be a big time game.
Yeah.
Because that could catapult Nashville beating Montreal and then Cincinnati.
Yep.
And that could talk about spiraling out of control. If Cincy loses to Atlanta and then loses to Nashville next week, Cincy, that's a tough look because everybody was really high on Cincy. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting weekend. All right, moving on. Colorado, Portland. I'm very high on Colorado. I think that they have a chance to be top 2 or 3 in the Western Conference. I've said time and time again on this show, Mihailovic and Navajo to me the best duo that nobody talks about in the league. And Portland is just not good. I'm going to go Colorado at home over Portland. Chris?
Colorado is, I think it's an easy call to make, to be able to say that Colorado's going to
wait, hold on. I gotta check. Who's missing.
Yeah, it's good to know who's going to be missing.
Zach Steffen and Wayne Frederick.
The Wall is going to be missing. That's bad. Mm-hmm. Zach Steffen was like the player of the week last week.
Well, and Portland's missing 3 players: Miguel Araujo, Maximin Crepeau, the keeper,
the goalie,
and Ariel Lassiter, Costa Rica.
Ooh.
Your boy Ariel Lassiter.
Yeah, those are tough losses, Danny.
Well, I think Ariel Lassiter might be addition by subtraction. I'm still gonna go Colorado.
I'm gonna go with Colorado too, and Portland. Unfortunately, I feel like they're going to be a team that's going to spiral if they don't pick anything up pretty quickly.
Who loses their job first? Portland, Phil Neville, or Kansas City, Peter Vermees? And Peter Vermees has been the coach there for like a million years.
I'd say Phil Neville, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah. Just Peter Vermees. I don't think he's ever going to lose that job, no matter how much he loses.
Yeah. I think it's been so long that I don't understand why he hasn't already.
All right, let's see. We got RSL
and saying Caleb Porter.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, Omar S. Yeah. Yes, that should be the question. Who's going to lose their job first? Phil Neville or Caleb Porter? I think Caleb Porter should have lost it already. You know what it is? Yeah. Your leading scorer 4 weeks in to beat the NYCFC, Thiago Martins, the NYCFC defender. That's sad.
Yeah.
All right. RSL, 5 players off on international duty. Xavier Gozo, Aiden. I'm going to stop trying to mention these names because these names are wild. Diego Luna is gone though, and Dominic Marzouk for RSL. But they have 5 players out, and then Dallas has only 2 players: Nolan Norris and Martin Pais. So. RSL is definitely a team that's missing more players. They're missing their cog in the offense. Diego Luna, Mr. Do-It-All. How are you feeling about RSL Dallas?
This is going to be a tie. I believe that this is going to be a tie. RSL without Diego Luna, I can't picture that.
But the best
I can't picture that. I mean, it's. Can you picture that?
What?
Them losing Diego Luna, like being an effective offense.
Diego Luna is expected to do a lot on that team.
Yes, I don't know. And FC Dallas is Lucho playing?
Yeah. Lucho's there. Peter Musa's playing, and Dallas has been disappointing. But this could be a get right game. They have 6 goals for, 8 goals against. Their defense has not been great, but RSL's offense hasn't been great. I'm gonna go Dallas. I think Dallas gets a victory here. Will get their second victory of the season, and I'm gonna go. Peter Musa is gonna get a brace. So if you want to add to your parlay, just put Peter Musa, put him down for a brace.
I'm gonna actually go with Dallas. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dallas as well. Like Soccer Daddy is mentioning, this could be a good string of games to get right, Danny, because the next game after they end up playing up against Sporting KC. So that's another team that they could probably thrash. And then they're going to arrive to and then they're going to arrive to play at Atlanta United April 5th. So
Seattle, Houston. Seattle is basically playing. I shouldn't even check who's on international duty. I should just check who's in the hospital for them. But so as of right now, Seattle, 2 players on international duty, Nohu and Obed Vargas. And Houston has, I know McGlynn was playing today for USA, so he's out.
So he's out.
So let's see, Houston. Jack McGlynn, Brooklyn Reigns, and Sebastian Rodriguez. Brooklyn Reigns doesn't really play anyway, and Sebastian Rodriguez. And they're playing in Seattle. Houston hasn't looked great. They've scored 3 goals all year. And then Seattle has been one of the more potent offenses. But Jordan Morris is out. Paul Arriola is out. And, they're just injured all over the place. How are you seeing Seattle and Houston?
I'm going to go 8. Well, I mean, I'm not going to go 8-2 like what Soccer Daddy is saying here. Seattle winning 8-2 against Houston. I'm going to go with Seattle, though. I'm going to pick Seattle. I'm going to pick the home team here. Omer S is predicting 1-1 draw. Jeez, guys, you guys got a lot of draws this week. Is it going to be that boring this week?
That's why it's so hard to bet on soccer, though, because there's 3 possible outcomes.
Yeah. I'm going with Seattle winning 2-1.
Okay.
Okay, Dennis. 3-2 Seattle. I can see that too.
I'm having a hard time.
I don't think they're going to score as many goals.
I'm having a hard time picking this one. I'm going to go. I'm going to go draw also. I think that Houston could pull out a draw here. Ben Olsen has to start doing something. Let's say a draw, 1-1 draw. The dude abides says Seattle 2-1. Look, I picked Seattle to do very well this season, but man, too many injuries.
It is.
All right, so at Seattle, so I'm going to go draw. You're going Seattle win. And then we have Vancouver, Chicago. It is Berhalter versus Berhalter. This is the Saturday night special. I believe it's the 10:30 game. It's going to be a standalone game. So Vancouver, the surprise team. Oh, shit, man. Let me look at this.
It is a 10:30 game. There is another 10:30 game.
Oh, there is.
Which is Seattle against Houston, but nobody's going to watch that game. This is the game, the headliner at 10:30.
Vancouver is missing all 4 players that are missing are all 4 starters. Ali Ahmed, Andres Cubas, Pedro Vite, and Brian White, all missing. Wow. Gald is injured. So they're missing basically 5 starters. I mean, that's going to be that they're missing 5 starters out of the 11.
Well, Dennis pulled the trigger early before you called all those names out. I mean, Soccer Daddy's saying 8-0 Vancouver. You guys still steady with your prediction here after Vancouver loses?
Chicago is missing 2 players, Omari Glasgow and Brian Gutierrez, which has been balling. But they still have Bamba. They still have Kuipers. I'm going to go Chicago. I think Vancouver suffers their first loss.
This can actually work out to be where Chicago does get their first win. Geez, I already made my 4-team parlay bet. I should have waited. I could have put Chicago down. Chicago actually plus 275, so they're underdogs in this. This would have been a good bet to place. I'm going to go with Chicago.
You're going to go Chicago also. Look, they're missing a lot of firepower. Chicago has a lot of theirs still on there. Greg Berhalter. I think that this would be like a coming out party, right? Because you beat the only undefeated team, the team that hasn't lost. All of a sudden, be like, oh, look, Triple G is actually doing well. And I think that it's going to be a talk on Sunday morning. I think Chicago beats Vancouver. And then everybody's going to be like, oh, no, but they were missing like half their squad. And then that'll be the back and forth. Oh, So I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. I think that Chicago win, though. Kuipers has been looking really good. Bamba's been looking good down that left side. We're going to go Chicago.
How interesting
Brady,
is it?
Your boy Brady.
Yes, he's
Brady's playing. He's playing.
Yes. How interesting would it be that he wins this weekend after USA just lost?
Nah, look.
That's stingy. That's a little stingy there, Danny.
Yeah, for all the Triple G haters, for sure, right? Because USA loses and then they see him winning. I get what you're saying, but I don't think anybody's worried about that.
No,
I think everybody's. I think it's they're past it. I think they're past it.
Okay.
But interesting what you brought up. And then the last game of the week, the only Sunday game, and for some reason, I don't know why I didn't pull up with the logo. That's SAN, not for San Antonio, but for San Diego. It's going to be Austin hosting San Diego. And San Diego is undefeated also, I believe. Austin has 2 wins, 2 losses. And how are you feeling about Austin and San Diego? Oh, wait.
Well, I imagine that they're going to be, I imagine they're going to be missing a couple players as well.
Listen,
I know
Austin is missing 4 players. They're missing Uzuni, which I don't know if that's a good thing. Last week, he missed 2 sitters. They're missing a defender from Finland. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Another defender from Ukraine. Not even going to try to pronounce his name. Vakok. And then a forward from Liberia. Again, sorry, I'm not pronouncing any of those names because I'm going to butcher them. But those are 4 Austin players. And then San Diego is missing two players, Annabelle Godoy, which we remember him from Nashville. He's been playing good in the midfield for them,
Yes.
and Patty McNair, defender. So
They they still got CJ Doe striker.
they still have Franco Negri. They still have Andres Dreyer. They still have their squad pretty much intact. Chucky Lozano still injured. Um, do you thinking of going San Diego?
Yeah, I'm thinking about picking San Diego on this, even though they're away. This is San Diego's been hitting strides, man, and I think that San Diego's going to maintain. They're going to maintain this same momentum. San Diego actually play against LAFC the following week after that. So imagine if LAFC loses this week, they'll be crumbling, running into San Diego, which is a buzzsaw. San Diego wins this week, then next week against LAFC.
I'm going to go Austin. I'm going to say Austin wins at home. I'm going to say they give San Diego their first loss. I'm going to say Bukhari scores a goal. Brandon Vasquez finally scores a goal. I'm going to say they win 2-0.
Okay. All right. Soccer Daddy says 6-0 dos salsa. Let's go.
So San Diego 2-1. That dude says. Omar saying Austin 2-1. I'm going to go. I think Dennis Lopez saying draw. Soccer Daddy says no logo, no win. I don't. That's my fault. I didn't realize it until I was about to pull it up just now. So, like I said, I'm gonna go Austin. I think that they give San Diego their first loss, and it should be interesting.
I'm good with that. San Diego's gonna win.
So
we'll have to see how we compare this.
We just went through the gauntlet of teams. I am still clueless as to what team isn't playing other than Inter Miami. Because Inter Miami isn't playing,
yes.
But I can't think of who is that other team that isn't playing this week.
I thought it was Seattle.
No, Seattle's playing.
But they're playing.
Yeah. So I'm still not sure what other team it is that isn't playing. If somebody maybe in the chat has realized it.
Columbus is playing.
Columbus is playing. I mean, I guess we could do it that
New
way.
England.
Oh, damn.
New England.
Another week that they don't score.
Another week, at least they don't lose.
at least they don't
New
lose.
New England. Yes. There we go.
Yes.
Oh man, yeah. See,
Caleb Porter. Look, they're not going to lose this week, so I guess that's a positive for them.
He keeps his job another week.
There you go. All right, Chris. Any final thoughts on the MLS Match Day 5 coming up this weekend?
No, man. I mean, it's gonna be even without Inter Miami.
What game are you looking most forward to?
The game that I'd be looking most forward to, absolutely, is gonna be Charlotte. It's gonna be no, I don't want to say Charlotte. It's a game that I'm
going to say Charlotte San Jose, man. That's what I'm most excited for.
Well, that's what I was gonna pick, right? I was gonna pick Charlotte against San Jose. But I'm actually looking forward to Atlanta United against Cincy.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to that game because I still think Latela has he's still got something to prove, right? And without Miguel Amiron, I think it'd be nice if he puts up a goal. And for those of you that are going to already start it up by saying, I am a Atlanta FC supporter, Atlanta United supporter, go ahead and just, make it rain in the chat. Well, but that's Brooks the game that I'm looking forward to.
Brooks Lennon can still whip in those crosses and have Latela finish those off with the header. So,
Omar S saying looks like Alesse might have gotten injured.
Yeah, I mean, I know he had a pretty decent game last week against the Red Bulls. I know he had a lot of crazy blocks, but at some point they have to start looking at somebody younger because Alesse is getting up there in age.
Yes, he is.
All right. I think that's it for our predictions. And if you guys have any more predictions, please put them in the comments. We're going to start keeping track of this so I can go up against Chris and see who wins at the end of the season. And maybe we'll have some guests on and just let them and keep track of their stuff also so we can kind of compare everybody. All right. If you are listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review, all that good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, say to your friends. And as always, for those of you in the chat, we appreciate you hanging out with us for the last 40 minutes. You guys are the best part of the show. Appreciate you also chiming in with your predictions. And we'll be back next week talking about recaps and everything else MLS. So until the next one, have a good one.